You ask anybody who's ever played music with him, somebody walked away with some kind of knowledge.
He's probably the most sincerest person I've ever met.
Pretty much a genius on guitar and bass as well.
Everything and how you can play to an instrument.
He was searching for something, and when he found his music, he found Phil.
Oh man, that kid had endless ideas.
Take riffs that I had and flesh them out to full breadth songs.
I'm a much better bassist now because of Phil.
I'm a better guitar player because of Phil.
Talking to Karen outside of the box.
I love to make people laugh.
I met him because my high school, I went to Stonington High School and he went to Westerly High School. And I was in the pit orchestra for Grease, and we didn't have a bass player, so they contracted, they asked, went to Westerly High School and found him and had him come play bass. And for part of the show, we had to dress up, like even though we were in the pit, and they wheeled us out on the stage for the dance part of the scene of the play, and he refused every time. He would never, we all had to wear certain things, and he would always show up like in his Funkadelic t-shirt and a giant hat covering his hair, and just when it was time to get on stage to wheel it out, and he would just stand there, nope, and just keep playing his bass, just shake his head, refused every time.
When Phil started playing the guitar, he would constantly have the guitar in his hand, and I can remember there being times that I would say, Phil, could you just put the guitar down? Could you just not play? And he would attempt, and it was short-lived, and then the next thing I knew, the guitar would be in his hand, and I used to think, God, what does he look like without a guitar in his hand?
I am a musician, a creative force to be reckoned with, and I am not afraid to color outside of the lines.
There wasn't an instrument he couldn't play. Best case in point, we're in the studio. I go out for pizzas and sodas, come back, and the guy's rolled out the B3 and is playing the B3 on our album. I didn't even know he could play B3. Apparently, he had played B3 at some point, but he didn't really need to. Like, everything that he learned in that school just set him on his way.
He was pretty much self-taught. I mean, really, the true sense of the word. Yeah, for myself, I started taking lessons when I was 10 years old, and I, studied with teachers, exclusively for years. He just kind of picked it up. He's just naturally gifted.
He had these ears, and he could just, the most singable lines ever would come out of his hands,
We had a real outstanding jazz band, and Phil wanted to play bass. I don't think he had a lot of experience reading music, because the band that we had at Westerly, we just read charts, we read music. But Phil, I remember, was very, very persistent on learning all of his music.
Phil discovered music in high school, and then Phil discovered Phil.
Bass was his life. It turned into his life.
I remember going to Berkeley to pick him up on the last day, and he was at a recording studio, and I rounded the corner and I heard this bass guitar that, it just brought tears to my eyes, because I knew it was Phil, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that's my son playing like that.
We helped him out by maybe giving him a $500 summer music camp scholarship. You could only give out so much money at a time, and I gave that to Phil because he really wanted to go to Berkeley. And he certainly made use of that scholarship. He went there and came back a new kid.
This scholarship fund that Paula and so many others have established over the last several years in Phil's legacy.
The thing I like so much about this scholarship is that it helps another kid learn about music. And I always thought Phil, we spoke about it a lot, he and I actually, especially when he went back to school, that he would have made a great teacher. Scholarship is nice because it can kind of still pass that along. He was a mentor to a lot of people.
I think it's an amazing thing that should keep going. Ever since the day I met him, I think it was the school year after he did the Berklee thing, and he did nothing but sing its praises. And I think it's an important thing for young aspiring players to do. But for a lot of people, it just opens doors. You know, that you see music from a different perspective. And so I think it's an amazing thing that there's a scholarship in his name. It's only appropriate.
Berklee summer program is a pretty great thing. Phil was able to take it due to the generosity of a family friend, and it really grew him musically. He talked about it a lot. It was very important to him. And having played music with him, I can tell you that it made all the difference in the world. And he would have been so happy to see other people with the same opportunity that he had in order to go to that 2B program.
Before I went there, I didn't understand anything technical about music. I went in as a guitarist, came out as a musician.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Basically just 5 weeks of everything I love. The defining moments, I think, was when I got there, and everybody's conversation started was not, hey, what's your name, where are you from, but what instrument do you play?
It's a really great program. I felt honored for getting the privilege to go and to attend. If you love music, do it, definitely. It's a great thing. It can only help you.
And when I thought back upon his life, Berklee was a deciding factor starting the scholarship for Phil. Not knowing any idea how to do fundraising. We're on our 4th event. I've had some wine tastings. At $50,000, it becomes a self-sustaining scholarship. And for the rest of my life, somebody will be going to Berklee every summer in Phil's name.